Hey, what's good everyone? Let me ask you all a question real quick. What would you say is one of the most hated things in For Honor? Is it Conch Shield Bash spam? Disconnections? Shaman? Light spam? Now while all those things can be mildly annoying, nothing makes your blood boil more than a good old fashioned emote spam after somebody kills you. Every character in For Honor has their own special and unique emotes, but which ones are the best? Which character has the most infuriating emote that pisses you off? This video will categorize every character from the worst to the best. Welcome to the For Honor emote tier list. Also keep in mind that everything I say in this video is purely an opinion, so don't take it too seriously. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Now for this video I decided to create 5 tiers. S, A, B, C, and D. S will be the best, and D will be the worst. I will rate each character by their best emote, which will be decided by the spammability, if that's even a word, flair, badassery, and style. I will also exclude the ones that are available for every single character, like for example the salt emote or the drinking emote. So starting from the very bottom of the tier list we have, and this kind of hurts to say, but it's Valkyrie. Now poor Valkyrie has been arguably the worst character in the game for quite a long time, and now she's at the bottom of a different kind of tier list. The thing is, she just has no unique looking or spammable emotes that are funny or badass. If you try to spam any of them, it just looks sad and kind of awkward. Her best one in my opinion would have to be the "This Blows" emote, simply because it sort of resembles a teabag if you do it slowly enough, but I don't know. I'm just not really feeling any of them. Another character that I decided to put into D tier is Gladiator, simply because none of his emotes are memorable and don't really stand out. The only one you can kind of spam is his default emote called "Are You Not Entertained?" and that's pretty much it. Not much to say about Aramusha, very subpar emotes. Only one I even half liked was called the Speed Demon for being pretty unique in terms of emotes, but the rest are kind of boring and don't really stand out at all. Moving on to C tier, in no particular order we have the Peacekeeper. Not the worst emotes, but again nothing memorable, and the only semi-spammable one I could find would be the "Done With This" emote. The only other character I could think of for C tier would have to be Shigoki. Now to be fair, he has some pretty funny ones such as "Pumped" and "Heck Yes" that you just can't help but laugh and smile at. Only reason he's so low is because the rest of the characters just have better emotes. Again, in my opinion. For B tier, let's start off with Nobushi. Now Nobushi has 2 emotes that personally really stood out for me. The first one being her default one called "Chest Bump" for being very spammable, and the other one being "Kicking Your Can." Now this one really tickled my fancy, because what's more degrading than getting killed in a 1v1 and then having your corpse kicked at repeatedly? Not much. Next we have the Highlander. Majority of his emotes are kind of boring, but he has one really good one called "Air Guitar." Honestly, this one emote made me decide to put him into B tier instead of C tier, just because the man is rocking out and having a good time. It's a really solid emote. So what can we say about good old Centurion? Well, the man has a few pretty solid emotes. The Good Life and the Intellectual are by far the best ones. Now the rest are okay, but honestly you won't be seeing many Cent mains using anything besides those 2. As for the Shinobi, let me just say first off that I really hate this little shit. I don't know why, but 90% of Shinobis run away from me, keeping their distance and forcing me to chase after them. And when they finally whittle you down and kill you, they do the damn dirty bird emote and really get under your skin. The rest of his emotes are okay at best, but this one always gets my blood boiling. Also, his double Dutch jump rope emote is pretty funny and should be mentioned. Warden was kind of hard for me to decide on where to put him. I feel like none of his emotes are necessarily bad, but none of them really amaze me either. His ball hog emote is okay when spammed, and so is his default one, Shouldered Blade. Other than that, there's not really much else I could say about him. Okay, now we're getting into the really juicy ones. From this point on, I think of these as the top tier emotes, and you really can't go wrong in picking your favorites because they are all so damn good. Again, in no particular order, let's start off with the Lawbringer. Now Lawbringer has a shit ton of good emotes, but if I had to choose which ones I like the most, I would have to pick his default one called Glorious or his Pony emote. Those are by far my favorites, hilarious and great for spamming. Next we have the Shaman, the character that so many of you seem to hate on. Shaman also has some really good emotes. Tantrum is pretty fun to spam, and my favorite, Incredulity? Hope I'm saying that correctly. But anyway, both are really fucking good. Orochi. I have so many memories of Season 1 when Orochi was the #1 most played character by far, and I am constantly haunted and tormented by the memories of when I was killed and taunted by his emote, "Here I Am." It's a classic that has been around since the start of the game, and that's why he gets placed so high on my tier list. Berserker also has some classic emotes that have been here since the start of the game, and they never faded away or felt overused. Both of his default emotes are priceless, as well as his flip out emote that I urge any Zerker mains to get. Okay, so I'm just going to admit right away that in my opinion, Kensei has some of the most boring emotes out of any character except for Valkyrie. I never liked how he looked, plays, and I don't like his emotes. But the reason I placed him in A tier is because of his one single emote called Blessed Glory. It just looks so good and smooth that I couldn't place him any lower than A. Now it's time for the best of the best, and unlike the other tiers, these last 3 characters I decided to put in order from worst to best. And when I say worst, what I mean is the worst out of the 3, because these 3 characters are at the top of the food chain in terms of emotes. So for the number 3 spot we have the Warlord. I decided to go with Warlord as the number 3 best character simply because of his "Why Me" emote, where he violently teabags you. It's so hilarious and degrading at the same time. Really hard to compete with that. For the second best character, we have the Conqueror. Now this probably shocks no one that Conqueror made it to the very top of another tier list. As a character, he started off strong when the game was first released, and as time went on, he fell from grace as he got hit with multiple nerfs. Now recently, he just made it back to S tier after his rework, but one thing has remained constant, and that is his emote spam being S tier since the very beginning of the game with his amazing raw emote. As for the number 1 spot on this tier list, we have, you guessed it, the legendary Raider. Now let me tell you all something. The only reason that I have mained Raider since the closed beta, besides the fact that he's legendary, is because of his amazing shove-off emote. I'm not even joking. When I saw that, I said to myself, I don't care if he's the worst character in the game. I will main him and I will use that emote every chance I get. And so it became a very tough uphill battle of getting good with the Raider, because unfortunately for me, he was not in fact the best in a 1v1 situation. In fact, some may argue that he's one of the worst, to which I will agree. Now over time, he got even more hilarious emotes such as the Axe Press and one of my other favorites, Whitewater. I'll be honest with you guys, it was really hard for me to choose between Conqueror and Raider for the number 1 spot, but I will admit that I'm a bit biased towards Vikings, so I went with my boy Raider.